You know, looking at the designs, it kind of reminds me of that 2D, 3D animated movie Igor from back in the early 2000s. And if anyone remembers that movie, points to you. How's it going, everybody? This is the ultragrump here with a video essay about the newest indie animation pilot that is making waves on YouTube. Glitch's newest project, the Gaslight District. This show was interesting to watch. I went into this pilot as blind as possible to make sure I didn't have any expectations or preconceived notions of the show whatsoever. I didn't know what I was getting into when I watched that video, and after watching it, I think it made me very, very fearful. Probably not in the way the showrunner was expecting me to be. I don't know how to fully describe how I felt watching the show doing my initial reaction, so I resorted to doing what I knew best, taking a bunch of notes and reporting on what happened. So with that introduction out of the way, let's talk about the show itself. According to the show's About page, the Gaslight District is a supernatural crime series about a family of undead gangsters in a town where death means nothing and consequences only matter if you can't slime your way out of them. The show describes itself as a supernatural crime comedy, which describes the show pretty well. The original teaser for this pilot was posted on Part-Time Seagull's YouTube channel back on November 29th, 2022. Looking at the teaser, it looks like the Gaslight District was originally going to have a more traditional 2D animation style before it got picked up by Glitch and switched to a 3D style that's more in line with Glitch's way of animating. Now I would like to talk about the creator of the show. The show is created by Nick Shoko, who goes by the online handle Part-Time Seagull. Looking at their work, it's clear that they spent a good amount of time working on this concept for years. Before Gaslight District, Nick was active in the animation circles, posting animations on Newgrounds and on his YouTube channel. In fact, they're well known for making 3D background art for other projects. You might have seen their work in shows like Helva Boss. Ironically enough, another indie cartoon that revolves around creatures from heaven and inhuman bipedal creatures. We might go back to that later. Nick describes himself as some punk kid from the South Shore of Montreal. This attitude definitely shows in their character design. Everyone in the Gaslight District has a distinct character outline that makes them stand out in a lineup. Outside of the NPC characters, or the Rotlings, no two characters look alike. Each member of the main cast, or the Smiling Dead, has a unique feature about them that sticks out. Ken the Butcher has a big build and a butcher knife sticking out of his head. Redhead is a huge hulk of a creature with an easy to identify head. Melancholy, aka Mel, is the only girl, and Mud is slim and has a melted face. I know it seems I skipped about talking about Mel a little bit, but to be fair, I am giving a abridged description of each of these characters. But there's another thing about Mel that I forgot to mention. According to the in-story lore of the show, it's prophesized that a human of black blood, born from the egg of an angel, is destined to end their world, wiping out all of the Rotlings and destroying the Gaslight District. This already sounds a bit far-fetched without knowing the rules of this universe. To give a bit more backstory, the Rotlings are the descendants of humans who are essentially immortal and can't die. Sounds pretty cool, right? But they can't regenerate like Wolverine, so if a body part gets blown off or cut off or just pops off, they can just stitch another body part onto themselves, kind of like zombies. Sure, everything else in the Gaslight District is a nightmarish hellscape, but they are fully into maintaining their way of life at the GD. So much so that they believe that there is a greater hell, even worse than the Gaslight District, called the Inferno. A place that is so awful, I can't even describe it. You just have to watch the video yourself. I can't I can't do Ken justice.
Told you what being sentenced to an eternity in the Inferno is like. Imagine being subjected to a never-ending rain of filthy, icy slush. It's dripping in every fold of your body as you lay frozen and numb, but yet you can't focus on any of it. It's the excruciating pain of pulling out an
Oh, yo, okay, that was a little too well done. I felt that. Yo, that was a lot. That was a lot. It really made me feel uncomfortable with that visual. Fuck, dude. Okay, back to the video.
So in this world, the way you can tell a human apart from a rotling is the aforementioned black blood that is flowing through their veins compared to the psychopop style purple blood that rotlings are supposed to have. Also, in this universe, angels are portrayed as crows. I'm not quite sure why that's the case. The closest I was able to find was in the Bible, in the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 24, where Jesus uses crows as an example of God's care, empathizing that crows neither sow nor reap, yet God provides for them. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. The divine beings are a robotic enforcement squad that are powered by brains of what I can assume were either humans who lost their bodies and were given another chance to live, or they're the brains of rotlings who lost their bodies and were given divination by the angels. Editing this video, I forgot to put in an extra bit of information to piece these two scenes together. I was trying to allude to the fact that since divination is definitely a key factor in the robots guarding the angels and the angels being crows, I wanted to allude to maybe there's some type of connection there that was used for the inspiration of the divine in this universe. I didn't really have that much of a strong argument to make here, so I didn't write it in my notes, but that's essentially what I was trying to allude to here. So that's something I forgot to mention. Okay, back to the video. So anyways, Mel is a human. This fact is kept secret between her and Ken, who is Mel's adopted father. They have a dynamic where Mel switches between calling Ken dad or by his name, which is pretty consistent considering Ken has some type of bipolar issue where you literally see a switch flip in his brain from left side to right side, and it's on one side he's very, very aggressive and very impatient, while on the other side he's a bit more caring and a bit more empathetic. This also plays into her role as the mafia princess, who is affiliated with the gang by blood, but not as a full-fledged member of the Smiling Dead like Breadhead or Mud. Both Ken and Mel make good enough points as to why they stand where they do in their differences. Ken, obviously aware of the prophecy, is willing to do anything to prevent Mel from getting discovered. He doesn't want to put Mel into situations where she could get hurt, since her black blood would expose her. She wouldn't be able to replace any of her limbs with that of a rotling if she breaks a bone or gets a part of herself blown up. In Mel's point of view, she was raised into this life of crime, and being the boss's daughter, she wants to prove herself as a real member of the crime family and being involved in pulling heists and murders. Even if it's ironic that the people they kill don't actually die. They're just torture indefinitely. This conflict is what drives the plot for the pilot, where Mel orchestrates a plan to steal an angel's egg from heaven, lie and pass it off as if it's a human egg, and then smash it in front of everyone in GD to sway the fear of a human hiding in their domain. Of course, the plan goes as you think it would. The egg hatches before they could break it, and the Smiling Dead gets outed as liars. As to what punishment will await them for this, we don't quite know. The pilot ends in a cliffhanger, while the story doesn't have a set ending. I get it, I do. It's to get people to want to subscribe and to support more episodes to be produced for Gaslight District. Murder Drones and The Amazing Digital Circus have had their hooks in their pilots as well to get fans to want to see the story continue. However, this is the first one that I've watched that had the pilot just end. No to be continued stinger, just a recap of the general concept of the show from the teaser, and that's about it. For full disclosure, I went out of my way to not watch any of the reviews for the Gaslight District before making this video, as I didn't want to risk indirectly echoing any of the critiques that were made about the show already. The first thing I had a slight issue with is the way death is handled on this show. When characters are killed on screen in gory and horrific ways, it should mean something. A critique that surrounded Murder Drones throughout its run was how it would kill off and murder NPCs all the time in gory and horrific ways, but it didn't mean anything because they're drones. Hell, there was a whole episode where they just killed off people in a summer camp parody, and none of the deaths meant a thing. They just continued on like it didn't matter. Even when some of the characters were thought to be permanently dead, it's, oh no, actually, they're just the brain now. They're not really dead, they're just bodiless, like a goose. This is how I feel about some of the deaths in the Gaslight District. For example, the death of Joshua the Watcher by Mud was comedic and pretty funny, but then we see Josh just come back to life again. This makes me feel concerned about GD using this immortality field trope that belittles the impact death carries in traditional crime stories. But then we see the gory death of the divine being known as Temperance by Ken the Butcher, and that's sold completely straight. Temperance doesn't regenerate, his brain is eaten by Ken, and Ken gets a level up for that shit. What are the rules here? Why are some deaths permanent and while others aren't? Is it exactly like traditional zombie rules where you have to destroy the brain? What makes the divine so powerful yet so fragile? I also gotta mention this because I feel like this will be a bad faith argument that some people will try to make. Gaslight District is not a ripoff or a copy of Hell of a Boss. Nick worked on Hell of a Boss, but he wasn't on the writing staff. More than one show can feature angels and a small business that happens to kill others. Any similarities between the two are coincidental. I've already mentioned that I purposely avoided going over into videos that already talked about the Gaslight District. However, I did stumble into one video almost a month ago that I won't name because I'm pretty sure the creator is using AI for their videos. But they did mention how some Digital Circus fans were already shitting on the Gaslight District before it even debuted, since the animators at Glitch was focusing on getting the Gaslight District ready for its premiere. Glitch put an announcement out there that the distribution of episodes for Digital Circus is going to be slightly delayed. So these fans put it in their head that they will have to go months without a new episode because of how there going to be less animators being allocated towards getting Digital Circus episodes published. And to me, it's a dumb reason to protest a new show. It's not the Gaslight District's fault, nor Pirate Time Seagull's fault if Glitch doesn't have enough staff to get more episodes out in a timely fashion. I'm sure Gooseworks trolling the fans by teasing to purposely delay episodes isn't making the situation any better. As long as I've been on the internet, I can prematurely tell the type of strawman arguments that some people will try to make to justify their biases. And when it comes to the Spindle Horse fandom, they tend to be very overprotective as a defense mechanism. I don't hate Fizzy Pop or her shows. I just think the fandom surrounding them can be overzealous at times and down horrendous at worst. Which brings me to my small nitpick about Mel. The design for Mel Akali is in itself not a problem. But when you have a girl character running around in a skin-tight outfit, I can't help but think how much of this character is made to bait the Gooners. Thankfully, Glitch doesn't partake in making Gooner merchandise to capitalize on the inherent horny fans within a fandom and indirectly give said Gooners justification for their fixization. Listen, I know that merch sales help the cost of production, but there has to be a line about what's suitable and can be marketable, right? The last thing I want to critique about the show was the fact that it stuffed so much lore and information that it made it confusing at times about what was going on to me. I had to rewatch this video at least 3 times to understand certain parts of the story. It's very ambitious, yet I feel like if I need to rely on watching someone else tell your story, like a YouTuber like Sarcastic Chorus, then you probably aren't as good as a storyteller as you think you are. Not every viewer is going to have a degree in ARG hunting to skim through the story to find hidden meanings in your work. This was more so the case with Murder Drones than Gaslight District for sure, but I figured I should go ahead and mention it in case this becomes a recurring issue in the future. In conclusion, I do believe that this series has potential. I have no clue if Part-Time Seagull plans to keep this series going for as long as possible, or if they already have a predetermined plan to keep it confined to one season, like with the Amazing Digital Circuits and Murder Drones. My critique and nitpicks aside, it looks really, really cool, and I want to support the production of more episodes of this series to be made. It's why I took the time to write this essay talking about this show, rather than just uploading another reaction video about it. I was blown away by Johnny Martigrano's performance as Breadhead. As someone who follows him and other voiceover actors like him, like Solid JJ, Ace Vane, and Uncle Al, I'm super hyped to see him feature on a show like this. And since I'm already talking about the voice actors, yes, Michael Kovac was in the pilot. The meme lives on for another day. Now I'll pass the question on to you, the viewer. Have you watched the Gaslight District already? And if you did, what did you like about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? Would you date Breadhead? Let me know in the comments below. I am the ultragrump, and I will see you next time after I find something small to be grumpy about. Back on November 29th, 2002. Okay, redo. The original Fuck. The original trays. I wrote it and I can't even talk. What the fuck? The original teaser trailer. Full disclaimer. I went out of my way to not